Hi, this is Alfonso Cordero again, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about employees and contract labor. And when you have a business, you start the business on yourself, your own. You are the only person there, and you do everything. But little by little, the business is growing, and if it grows, you're going to start hiring people. And those people that you're going to hire, they can be either your employees or they can be contract labor, outside services. Let's talk about employees first. Employees is somebody that comes to your area of work, that you give them time to get here and then to get out. You give them a working space. You give them the tools. You're going to use this desk, this computer. That's an employee that you have there. When you have an employee, there's certain things that you need to comply with. And let's go one by one. Number one, you need to make sure that person is authorized to work in the U.S. What that means is that the person is legal, that the person can work. You have at least a work permit. And in order to do that, you have to have the person complete for you the Form I-9. Form I-9 is an immigration form. This form was created back in 1986. I think Ronald Reagan was the president back then. And the idea was every person that you employee from now on, and believe me, the one you're going to employee that next week applies to, that person, you need to have this form being completed. And the form basically have three parts. Part A is the employee or the candidate to become employee is going to put his name, address, social security number, and the most important part is what is your legal status? What is your status? And the person can be a citizen, there's nothing wrong with that. The person can be a resident, or the person can have a work permit, a specific visa to work in certain area or even in certain company. Okay? The person has to establish that. Then the person signs that form, that area of the form, and give it to you, the employer. And what you do on part number 2, the form itself on the back will list items that you are going to use to corroborate that information, to make sure the information is accurate. So what you're going to do is you're going to tell the person, okay, let me have your social security card. Let me have your driver's license. Let me have your passport. There's certain documents that the form itself will tell you that will be valid, that they can be used in order for you to verify the information that the individual put on area number 1 of this form. Okay, so you need to review those. I suggest if you can make a copy of them so you have them in file, and then you sign also. Some of these documents, if you're talking about, for instance, a work permit, they will have a due date. That means that they are going to be expire in the future, in certain date. So you need to put that down, because at this point the person can be completely legal, but maybe 3 months down the road that work permit expire, and you need to re-certificate that person. Otherwise, you run the risk of have somebody on board that is already illegal or not with no valid visa to work. So you have to be careful with that. So that's step number 1, Form I-9 to make sure the person is authorized to work in the U.S. The second thing you need to do is Form W-4. And Form W-4 is a form required by the Internal Revenue Service. What that basically does is tell me your name, tell me your address, tell me your social, and tell me what's your status, single or married, and how many exemptions or dependents do you have. And this is used in order for you to withhold the income taxes. You're going to use it based on that, go to a table called Publication 15 or Circular E. It's the same publication, 2 different names. And you're going to go with that to a table and see what is the withholding, how much income tax you're going to withhold on a salary for that person. So far, what we have said is that if you're going to have an employee, you have to make sure the person is legal, in other words, authorized to work in the U.S. And you corroborate that, or you verify that by having the person fill out for you Form I-9 and then completing Form W-4. After that is done and the person is cool, you can work with that person, then you go into the mechanics. And the mechanics mean, what do I need to do as an employer? I'm going to be talking to the employer, to you, the business owner. What you have to do certain items. You have to withhold income taxes. You have to withhold also Social Security taxes. But not only you withhold the Social Security, you also contribute to that an additional amount equal to the one you withheld. In a simple example, if you're going to pay somebody $100, the withholding for Social Security is 6.2% or $6.20. you're going to also put the same amount as the company, 6.2, and the governments will receive 12.4, or the sum of the two. On the Medicare, it will be the same scenario, it's just a different rate. Medicare is 1.45%. If you have $100 as your base salary, $1.45 is a withholding you do from the employee, and the employer also is going to put another $1.45. Therefore, the government receives $2.90, and that's the total that goes to the government. Then you have federal withholding tax that we did based on the table on publication 15, and you may have some other deductions that really have nothing to do with taxes, but they may be you gave the person a salary advance, and then you agreed to take out X amount of dollars every pay period. That may be another withholding. You may have a different plan. You may have a plan for 401k, for contribution for retirement. You may have a plan for insurance, life insurance, or for health insurance. You may have all different kinds of withholding. But as far as the minimum required, you have the federal income tax, you have the Social Security, and you have the Medicare. Those are the minimum that you have to withhold, and you have to put the same amount for the Social Security and Medicare. As an employer, in addition to those two amounts, Social Security, Medicare, that you need to put, you also have to pay the unemployment tax. That's something that is paid only by the employer. The employee have nothing to do with it. As an employer, you will pay those, and those will be state unemployment tax and federal unemployment tax. Usually, the state unemployment tax on a new business is 2.7. So in that example of a $100 base, you will pay $2.70 for every $100 to the government for state unemployment. And to the federal government, it will be 0.8 or 80 cents on the $100. And that, when you add those numbers, that becomes 11.15. That's the number total, those amounts. The 6.2, the 1.45, the 2.7, and the 0.8. And that's important because when you're doing a budget, if you're telling my payroll is $1 million, it is $1 million plus all these taxes that I need to pay. So it's very important when you're doing a forecast, when you're preparing numbers for your business, okay, to know exactly what is my cost of my payroll. So this is about payroll. The only other thing that you need to be aware is what is called the workers' compensation. Every company that has 4 or more employees is supposed to have a workers' comp. This is an insurance required by the government, even though the government dictates who need it and why. It is sold by the private sector. So you will go to the same agency that you buy your vehicle insurance, your house insurance, your business insurance, and they will be the one providing to you the workers' comp. So that's another type of insurance that you're going to need, and it's based on salaries, based on payroll. So talk to your insurance agent for more information on that. And this is all what we have for now regarding payroll. And in another video, we're going to talk a little bit more about the contract labor. See you later.
Cordero CPA en asuntos de contabilidad.